What's going on, guys? Dan Watson, and this is the DJI Mavic Mini. And if you've seen the channel at all, you know that I'm a huge fan of drones, and I've done a lot of reviews on DJI drones. So when the Mavic Mini came out, this was definitely something I wanted to try for just a lot of reasons. Now, when you first unbox this, I don't think there's any way to take this out of the box without being completely astonished with just how lightweight it is and just how compact it is. Now, a lot of that is because of the use of plastic, so it does feel a little fiddly and a little easy to break. However, I haven't had any issues with anything like that or damage occurring. It just kind of feels that way. Actually, the only kind of limitation I would say on the hardware is I was a bit disappointed that we only have micro USB charging on this and the remote versus like a USB-C. Now, the big signature feature here is that this drone is under 250 grams, and it's actually written right on the side in case you might forget, or maybe in case someone picked this up and you wanted to say, this is why this drone is not registered, this is why. Now, that does mean you do not have to register this drone with the FAA. However, it does not mean that you can fly this anywhere you want and whenever you want. There is still a lot of governing restrictions that will still apply to you. However, the FAA came up with that rule because drones under 250 grams were deemed much safer to people and property than a lot of the other bigger drones. So that means that if you are flying this drone and you do manage to hit something or get kind of close to an object, it will be a much safer drone to fly than a lot of your other drones. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean anything if these drones are not cool to fly. So now we get to the fun part. And if you're new to drones at all, these are just packed with technology, which is why I love them so much. I love flying them, and DJI drones are just one of the best on the market today because they are just jam-packed with features. Now, if you are new to flying these, do keep in mind that although they say like crazy miles, I think this one quotes a 2-mile range, they will not fly that. These have an extended or advanced Wi-Fi option to communicate with a controller. You'll probably get about 1,500 feet in about the worst case scenario, a little bit longer if you're in an area with good Wi-Fi, no interference or anything like that. But you will not want to fly these drones like a mile or two. If you want that, you're going to need to step up into like your higher end Mavic series that have a different type of technology for communicating between the drone and the controller. Thankfully, if you do fly this drone outside of that range, it will return on its own right to you. They do take off. They have a lot of GPS and technology built in them, so it will find its way back to you. And it will also do that if you begin to run low on battery. It will land itself back in the location that you took off from, assuming you didn't take off from somewhere like a boat or from personal experience, a jet ski. And if you're in that case, you need to be very, very careful about making sure that the area that you take off from is going to stay the same and going to be a good place for taking off and landing. No overhead trees, no buildings nearby, things like that, to make sure that your drone can safely return to home. Now, while this drone is extremely stable to fly outdoors, do keep in mind there is no obstacle avoidance sensors at all on this, and it's something we're used to seeing on a lot of other DJI drones. Now, I completely understand them not being able to put them in this because of weight or price or any of the above. However, do keep in mind that this drone will absolutely fly full speed straight into a wall and will do nothing to stop you. So you do need to be a bit more careful with this than some of DJI's more advanced drones. So the drone does have 3 different flight modes on it. Now, the first is going to be your standard positioning mode, and then it also has a cinematic mode, which really kind of slows down a lot of your acceleration. So when you quickly respond on the joystick, your drone will respond a little bit more slowly and kind of ease in and ease out into those movements. And then you have a sports mode, which is going to be extremely quick. It speeds up your drone overall, and the response is going to be amazingly fast. Now, in addition to that, you do have some automatic flying modes. My favorite personally is going to be the Helix mode, which will fly around a point of interest. And you also just have a couple other modes, which I don't use quite as often. Also, do keep in mind that if you go with one of DJI's higher end drones like the Mavic Air, there's absolutely a ton more of these modes and advanced flying features. And again, many of them are actually perfect for casual flying and a better fit for the Mavic Mini than something like the Mavic Pro. And on the photo side, we usually see features like panoramics and HDRs, but none of those are available on this drone right now. What's kind of more interesting is that we don't have any kind of follow me or active track or gesture-based controlling of this drone. What's more interesting is that we actually got those introduced on the Spark, which this is mostly replacing. So we don't have anything like that. And I find that I'm more likely to use a mode like that, like in a park or a place like this, than I would in a cinematic type mode. So this is really the type of place and the type of drone that I would like to see more of those features built in. What we do get, however, is amazing battery life, up to about 30 minutes, which in reality is about 22 to 27 minutes of actual flight time. And that's amazing for a drone like this, especially given the cost and just how small this thing is. Plus, these batteries are always removable, and so you can upgrade to the Fly More combo. That'll give you 3 batteries as well as a bunch of extras in the box, and it's just $100 more. Now, image quality here is kind of a little bit average. So we're dealing with a 12 megapixel half-inch sensor, which is really what we would see on most phones. However, the aperture is limited to f2.8, which my phone actually has a wider aperture than that. So again, that's going to mean worse low light performance. And then while a lot of other phones have been benefiting from like computational photography and doing a lot of other things with HDR, we're really not seeing that on this drone. So the quality can sometimes feel a little bit average. It's certainly good enough. You're able to get some amazing photos from this, but we're not seeing a lot of the quality pushes that we would see on other devices. And then also this is going to be JPEG only, no RAW option here, which I know might upset a few of you. Now, the video here might be even a little bit more limiting. We do have a 3-axis gimbal, which I was actually very surprised at, and it means that your video is going to be crazy smooth, even in some high wind environments. This is a huge upgrade from the Spark. You do have 2.7K, which I do think is probably what most people will need. There is no 4K option. Also, that 2.7K is going to be limited to just 30 frames per second. There is no 24 frame per second option here. And then if you want to go 60 frames per second for like a little bit of slow motion, you will need to bump it down into 1080p. Now the bitrate is also going to be a little bit lower, just 40 megabits per second. And what that means in reality is going to be in situations like I'm in right now with a lot of grass and trees and fine detail, a lot of places you would actually fly a drone, the footage is going to look a lot muddier. It's just not going to be able to resolve a lot of that fine detail that you would hope it to resolve. Overall, the quality is still good. It just could be a lot better if we had those higher bitrate options. Now, the biggest letdown here is going to be there is no manual video mode at all, and then no manual white balance control, so it is auto only. And what that meant is that in sunsets, as I was turning the drone around, my colors were all shifting. There was no way of locking that in. And then your exposure, you can lock it in, but you have no control over your shutter speed, or most importantly, your ISO, because this drone is not great in low light, so you couldn't lock in those low ISOs and then let the shutter speed adjust or lock in a shutter to whatever it was. It kind of meant that unless you're using this for the most casual of video shooting environments, I kind of found that it was almost useless. Now, I really hope that DJI will give us an update to that, because it is extremely limiting and there is no physical hardware reason that it should be that way. So this is a $400 drone. I understand it's kind of more of an entry level or toy, but there is no reason to be locking us down to that. And I really hope DJI will change that. If they do, if someone watches this video, I'll be sure to update the description. But for anybody using this for anything but the most casual shooting, I think that's going to be a big miss. Now, there's definitely a lot that DJI got right with the Mavic Mini. I mean, being able to hit that 249 grams exactly, still giving us amazing hardware, 30 minutes of flight time, the controller included, and hitting that $399 price point mean that this is the perfect entry drone. Now, here's the limitation, is if you are looking for an entry level into photography or aerial videography, I don't think this is going to be it, especially since DJI has, not the hardware side, but on the software side, really limited what we can get with being able to record manual video. I think that if you're into that, you are going to need to step up to the Mavic Air. And I do have a review on that. If you want to check it out, you can do that. I really wish that DJI would give us that option. Again, I don't care that it's 2.7K, but having automatic only in a $400 drone, I think is very limiting, and I really hope that they'll change that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, please check out those other videos. Mavic 2 Pro, I've got a video on that as well. Thank you guys. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in a new video.